Yes, friends, so the next topic that we are going to start is standard costing. One of the very important topics of your syllabus. Okay? Most of the people find this topic as very difficult, but I find this topic as very interesting. Okay? Let's see. After watching this particular video, I'm confident that even you will be finding standard costing very easy and very interesting. Okay, let's see. Now, first of all, just tell me, friends, if you have just started with a business, why will you be doing the business? What will be your main intention in the business? Of course, your main intention will be to earn profits, right? And since childhood, we know how do we calculate the profits? Profits are calculated as sales minus cost, right? Sales minus cost. Okay. Now, just think about it. If you want to maximize the profits, you have two choices. Choice number one, try to increase your sales. Choice number two, try to reduce your cost. Now, if you want to increase your sales, what can you do? First of all, you need to maintain a very good quality of your product. Then secondly, you should have a very good marketing process and so on. But in spite of all the efforts that you can make, the sales may not be in your hands, right? Sales will increase or not, that may not be in your hands because it depends on the market, right? So what is the second option available with you? The second option available is try to reduce cost. This you can definitely do. This is in your hands. So now you will be trying to control, trying to reduce all the costs that you may incur. Okay, this is how you will be able to increase the profit. So now, how to control or reduce cost? We have already studied about various cost control and reduction techniques in various chapters. Standard costing is a technique of costing. A technique of costing focusing on this area only. How to control or reduce the cost. Right? So, let's see how standard costing works. See, you have seen that the profit is sales minus cost. So, if you proceed ahead in the business, you will not be proceeding ahead in a half-assed manner. Definitely, you will be planning and then you will be moving ahead. Right? So, you will be, in business language, planning of profit, sales and cost is called as a budget. Right? So, you will be preparing a budget. Okay? After preparing the budget, now you are ready with the budgeted sales, now target sales, the budgeted cost and hence the budgeted profit. You're ready with that. Okay? So you're budgeted. What next? After making the budget, when you move ahead, you will come to know about the actuals. Right? Like for example, if you planned to study for 10 hours a day, in the beginning, we feel very excited and hence we will be making such plans. Suppose you made a plan that you will be studying 10 hours a day, but later on, after a month or so, when you actually reviewed your performance, so you found that you used to study hardly for 2 hours a day. Okay. So, you will be able to compare now the budgeted, the planned and the actuals, right? And you can actually find out the deviation. In your case, there will be a deviation of around 8 hours. You could have studied for 8 hours more, but you didn't study. The same thing will be happening here. Once you know the actual, you will be able to compare the budgeted and the actuals, right? So on comparison of this, you can calculate now the deviation, the difference, right? So you will be able to calculate the difference by comparing the budgeted sales with the, budgeted profit with the actual profit. Then budgeted sales with the actual sales, then budgeted cost with the actual cost. You will be able to compare them, right? By comparing them, you can now calculate the variance between these two, the deviation, the difference, right? The calculation and the study of this variance is called as variance analysis. Okay, this is called as variance analysis. Fine. Standard costing is basically the calculation, the study of this variance analysis, and also to reconcile the variance. That's what standard costing is. So simple, right? You simply have to calculate the variance. You have to judge whether the variance is good for you or whether the variance is bad for you. Like the example that I gave to you. If you could have studied for 10 hours and you actually studied for 2 hours, 8 hours less, that's bad, right? That's bad for you. So you will be calculating whether the variance is good or bad. On the other hand, suppose you plan for studying around 10 hours a day and you actually studied. Suppose that you studied for around 12 hours a day. Suppose. I know that's quite impossible, but suppose you studied for 12 hours a day. Then in that case, you studied 2 hours extra. This will be called as a favorable, a good variance. So you have to calculate the variance. You have to decide whether the variance is good or bad for you. And then if there is any deviation, why the deviation was there. Okay, the variance, whatever is the variance, why the variance was there. This is what we'll be studying in standard costing. Simple. Got the basic idea of standard costing? Okay. Now let's focus on the very initial part. I told you that you have to calculate the variance and you have to judge whether it is good or bad. Okay. In standard costing language, we call good variance as a favorable variance and bad variance as an adverse variance. Okay. Now let's see how to judge whether the variance is good or bad. Now to understand that, I will take the example of a seesaw. Okay, seesaw. Now I will put two things here on the left hand side and on the right hand side of the part of the seesaw. Now as all of you know that the seesaw will bend towards the heavier side. Okay, so now let's compare. Now suppose I compare these two first. What are these two? Budgeted profit and the actual profit. Okay, I'm comparing these two. Suppose now on comparison of these two, this is the result. What's the result? Actual profit is more. Budgeted profit is less. Actual profit is more. What do you mean by that? I budgeted suppose for a profit of 5 lakhs. I wanted to earn a profit of 5 lakhs in my accounting year. And when I saw the actual, I actually earned a profit of 7 lakhs. I earned more profits. So earning more profits, is it good or bad? Definitely it is good. So such a variance when actual profit is more than the budgeted profit is called as a favorable variance. Got it? Everyone? But just think about it. If the case is exactly reverse of it, what is happening now? Now the budgeted profit is more and the actual profit is less. I budgeted for a profit of say 5 lakhs, but I could earn hardly 4 lakhs. Okay, so I earned less, my profit is less. This variance is not good for you. We call it as an adverse variance. Okay, all of you understood? For profit, the variance will be favorable or adverse depending upon the situation. Now the same thing will happen with sales also. Same thing. If my actual sales is more than the budgeted sales, it will be a favorable variance. While if my budgeted sales was more, actual sales is less, then it will be an adverse variance. Okay? Clear about profit and sales variances? Yes. Let's move ahead to the next part. The next part will be cost variance. So let's come back to the seesaw. Okay, now I will compare these two, budgeted cost and the actual cost, and on the comparison of this is the result. What's that? That will be a favorable variance. How? Think about it. What do you see here? The budgeted cost is higher. Actual cost is less. Budgeted cost is higher. So you budgeted that you will be spending some amount, and the result is that you actually spent a very lesser amount. Think about it. If suppose you went for shopping and you decided that I will be spending around 20,000 rupees in shopping. Okay. And finally you actually spend only 15,000. You were thinking of spending 20,000 and you actually spend only 15,000. Well, that will be practically impossible in case of girls, but whatever, just assume. If 20,000 was budgeted to be spent and actually you spend only rupees 15,000, means you spent less, means you saved 5,000 rupees. Is it good or bad? Definitely it is good for you. So that will be a favorable variance if your budgeted cost is more and actual cost is less. However, if the case is exactly reverse, okay, your actual cost was more and your budgeted cost was less. What you had budgeted that I will be spending this much, you actually spend something more. Like for example, if one of the girls goes on shopping, budgeting, aiming that she will be spending around 20,000 rupees on some dress material, and later on she finds that okay, that handbag is also so beautiful, I'm going to purchase that also, and that sandal is also so beautiful, I'm going to purchase that also, and so on. Later on she actually spent around rupees 25,000. She wanted to spend only 20,000, but she actually spent 25,000, 5,000 extra. So if you are spending more, actual cost is more, it will be an adverse variance. Fine. Are you clear about favorable and adverse variance? Great. Now, we will be starting with the cost variances. We will understand about the cost variances first. Now you got the basic idea of the cost variance. Now, as all of you know, element wise, we divide cost into three parts. What are these three parts? Material, labor, and overheads. Right? So now we will be moving ahead to the cost variances, dividing it into these three parts. So we will be seeing the material cost variances, the labor cost variances, the overhead cost variances. Overhead cost variances will be further subdivided into two parts: variable overhead cost variances and fixed overhead cost variances. Clear? So this is what we will be discussing in the next part. In the first part, we focused only on the concept of standard costing, what standard costing exactly is. I hope all of you are through with that. In the next part, we will start with the material cost variances, not just the formulas, but also the logic part of it. Okay? Fine then. We'll see you in the next part.